Thanks for joining us on the CBN News Channel. I'm Charlene Israel.
And I'm Ephraim Graham. The Midwest is finally experiencing some relief today, but the magnitude of damage left by storms over the past few days and weeks is staggering. And at least 13 are dead from the latest round of tornadoes in Oklahoma. Now that destructive storm system has made its way to the East Coast. Damage assessments are underway again after another devastating weekend across the Midwest. Hundreds of residents left with splintered homes, shattered cars, and broken hearts.
I really loved my home. This house is 117 years old, and I was like, we're okay. It's going to be fine. And, you know, it's just not.
The Oklahoma City region was hit by two terrifying storms. The latest hit Friday, bringing with it massive flooding and at least 5 tornadoes. One of those twisters, an EF3 that charged through a crowded interstate and suburban neighborhood. The death count has been rising as emergency workers continue to search for missing residents. Among the dead in Oklahoma, 3 storm chasers who were researching tornadoes to help improve warning systems and predict storms in the future.
He devoted literally his life to saving others' lives and to be able to capture tornadoes and to be able to save lives through the technology he's developed.
Operation Blessing is still on the ground in Oklahoma, helping residents cope and pick up the pieces.
Let's go back towards the bed. You guys are good? All right, we're clear. We're clear. We can move this way.
Volunteers are working with residents to clear debris and repair homes. They're also providing those all-important hugs and spiritual support through prayer. The East Coast has been weathering the remnants of the storm system that blasted the Midwest. Thousands of residents in the Northeast are without power after heavy rains, high winds, and hail. And a tornado touched down in South Carolina, damaging several homes.
Rainy weather and cooler temperatures this spring have made life tough for farmers across the country. Many have been forced to delay planting crops, and that could lead to higher prices at the grocery store. Mark Martin has more.
Usually crops would be growing by now in this rain-drenched field in Wisconsin.
There are a lot of fields that are really super wet right now with all the rain and more on the way.
Mark Zastro's farm fields are on top of a hill, so they are not as likely to have standing water. But like many farmers across the country, he still faces difficulties from a wet, chilly spring.
So far this year, everybody's been behind just due to the weather. And every time it rains, they just get farther behind.
That includes delays in plowing fields, planting crops, and harvesting early spring hay. This hay field is nowhere near ready to be cut. That's bad news for his livestock, which used to eat that hay.
A lot of farmers were out of hay, so they've been buying a lot, waiting for the crop to grow, so it couldn't have been any worse.
Crops that farmers have been able to plant are emerging slowly. The latest crop report from Wisconsin's Agriculture Department shows so far only 2% of farmers report their first alfalfa cutting this year, compared to 59% last year. Some of the other crops across the country battling rainy, cool conditions include Arkansas's rice crop, Washington's cherry crop, North Carolina's peanut crop, and corn and soybean crops across the Midwest. Farmers hope dry, sunny weather is around the corner to jumpstart the growing season. Mark Martin, CBN News.
A cool, soggy spring could mean lower crop yields and higher feed costs for livestock. Those two factors could cause higher prices at the grocery store.
The chairman of a government watchdog committee says the Cincinnati IRS agents who targeted Tea Party groups were being ordered from Washington. Republican Congressman Darrell Issa released excerpts of interviews with employees. Issa said they showed the employees were directed by Washington to subject conservatives to tough scrutiny.
The president's spokesperson is saying whatever is convenient at the time, and the story changes. What we have are people who come into transcribed interviews. They're saying under penalty of crimes that certain things are true. We have subpoenaed documents that would support that they say emails that went back and forth.
This IRS thing cuts to the heart of a lot of people's concerns about intrusive government. And as we find out more facts, I think the facts are not going to be attractive. We're going to find that the IRS targeted conservative political groups, not liberal groups.
The top Democrat on that watchdog committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings, has contested ISIS claims. Meanwhile, the IRS is at the center of another spending scandal. A government watchdog group says it wasted about $50 million on 220 conferences between 2010 and 2012. The report included $4 million for an August 2010 gathering in Anaheim, California.
A new report shows all the sequester screaming was nothing but hype. It's been months since those across-the-board spending cuts, and there have been very few government job losses in the nation's capital. The unemployment rate in Washington, D.C. remains the same at 5.3%, much lower than the national average. And the Washington Post reports that 40,000 jobs have actually been added in the Washington area. Meanwhile, others are actually applauding the sequester. Paul Strand tells us why.
We love the idea of the sequester.
Sequester supporters like Tom Giovanetti, head of the Texas-based Institute for Policy Innovation, say any move Washington makes to actually slow down its wild spending is a good move. And he points out in 2011, both the White House and Congress came up with and approved this scheme to have automatic across-the-board spending cuts kick in if they couldn't negotiate some other kind of cuts deal.
We think that was a great idea. We think it's a great device. We think we ought to be planning sequester 2 and sequester 3 right now because nothing else has worked.
Some in Washington say these are very deep and painful cuts in spending. But Giovanetti says not really.
Most American families, when they talk about a cut, they mean spending less money this year than we did last year. That's not what the government thinks of as a cut.
Most of the budgets for federal departments are rigged to automatically rise several percentage points every year.
If the government is planning to spend 5% more next year, and now they're only going to spend 3% more, they consider that to be a drastic cut. And that is the nature of the sequester. In almost every federal department, spending goes up, not down.
But just less than it was going to go up. The only real cuts hit the Defense Department. And even then, it's only cut back to 2007 spending levels, the year when America's military was engaged in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
So if that amount of money is enough to fight 2 wars at the same time, it's probably not a drastic cut. And don't forget, defense spending immediately starts going up again next year.
Which is why folks like Giovanetti want to see more sequesters, but with real cuts and real limits on spending.
If you don't have a limit, you don't budget. If you don't have a limit, you don't make choices. You do everything.
And that's something believers in limited government just can't abide. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
A Central Florida school district has apologized for using eye scanning tracking devices on students without their parents' permission. According to Fox News, high-tech eye scanning cameras were used on students at Davenport School of the Arts, Daniel Jenkins Academy, and Bethune Academy in Polk County. The cameras were installed on school buses as part of a security program. The cameras captured students' names and identification numbers, but parents were never notified about the tracking system. School officials have now apologized for not giving parents a chance to opt out.
A Delaware abortion doctor faces charges of unsafe and unsanitary practices. The state's medical licensing officials filed a formal complaint last week. Dr. Timothy Liveright performs abortions at a Planned Parenthood clinic in Wilmington. Officials say he represents a, quote, clear and immediate danger to the public. He is accused of multiple acts of incompetence and negligence, including over-sedating patients, performing unnecessary suction procedures, and failing to act in a way that would avoid unnecessary complications for patients.
Illinois conservatives defeated a campaign by gay activists to push through a same-sex marriage bill last week. The Illinois Senate approved the measure in February, but the State House adjourned Friday without voting on it, despite months of fierce campaigning on the issue. President Obama even jumped in at the last minute, urging lawmakers to approve gay marriage. Gay activists thought momentum was in their favor after several other states recently approved it, but conservative black pastors and other church leaders fought back with radio commercials, robocalls, and lobbying. Gay marriage supporters say they won't give up in Illinois.
A new survey shows America is losing its religion. The Gallup poll shows 77% of Americans say religion is losing its influence on the nation. That is the worst evaluation of religious influence in the U.S. in more than 40 years. But most Americans are not happy about that. In fact, 75% say the country would be better off if it were more religious. Joining us now with more on this study is Gerard Long. He's executive director of Alpha USA, a spiritual course for anyone seeking answers to life's biggest questions. Gerard, this is a troubling trend. What does it tell you about America's spiritual state?
Well, Ephraim, you're absolutely right. And it's a real concern because clearly we know from history that where a nation turns away from God, things don't go well. And that's what we're seeing here in America now. But the good news in that survey is that there's 75% or so of folks say, hey, this is not good. And so they realize that religion, and I think what they mean by that is dead religion. Jesus spoke against people who were saying one thing and doing another. And what really people understand is that Jesus and his teaching is good. He comes to set people free. He comes to help people, come alongside people and love people. And people intrinsically know that Jesus and his teaching helps. It brings renewal and it brings a real transformation.
Now, you saw this same trend happen in London. What was the end result there, and how did it affect Britain overall?
Well, it's been happening across Europe and in the UK. I was a pastor in London for 17 years. And, you know, when I say people turn away from God, they start to lose their moral conscience. And there's no measure then in terms of what's right and wrong. And so what tends to happen is that you see a deterioration in family life. And in London, in the UK now, you can have 3 or 4 generations where they've never seen a father. You start to see the moral decay increase in abortions and things like that tend to go on. You start to see business deteriorate. So America's really on a tipping point. We can either go the same way as Europe, where 50% are atheists, or we can come back as a nation to the person of Jesus Christ and to all that he stands for: love, loving others more than ourselves, putting God before ourselves.
Real quick, in terms of reversing this trend, what is your ministry doing to do that? Tell us what you've been doing and how it works.
Well, basically, it's a mobilizing of Christ followers to have a different mindset. Instead of looking inward, it's having more of an outward look. Jesus did. He came to show what God's kingdom looks like. And so what Alpha does is help to mobilize churches and Christ followers specifically to have a vision. God has placed me in my family, in my workplace, in my neighborhood for a reason. And that is to show people what the kingdom of God looks like and to come alongside people. Jesus was a friend of sinners. And so to start being friends with people intentionally, to build trust. And out of that trust, we have an opportunity then to introduce people to the person of Jesus Christ. And Alpha essentially does a 10-week course. And in that course, people are accepted for where they are on their journey, but they hear the gospel, they hear the good news of Jesus, and then they have a chance to ask questions. So we start with a meal, we then have a talk, and then we have discussion time, 45 minutes or so, where people can, any question goes, and hey, it's okay if you disagree. In that place, as we get out of the way, it's the Holy Spirit then who starts to convince people of the person of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And we see 50% of people who come on an Alpha course make a first or recommitment to Jesus. And so last year, 250,000 people across America did that. And we're starting to see renewal in the local church, which is what we need, of course.
Indeed, indeed. And that is very good news. Gerard Long, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Coming up, preaching the gospel in the world's largest Muslim country, how Indonesians brave persecution and death threats to hear the good news.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute.
Superbook.
No!
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah. Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't! They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry. Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
Every week, pastors preach at evangelistic meetings around the world, but it isn't so easy in Indonesia with the largest Muslim population of any nation.
Egyptian-American pastor Michael Youssef spoke there recently, and some who heard him were threatened. But as John Wagi explains, that didn't keep hundreds from responding to the good news.
Indonesia is home to more than 200 million Muslims. That's nearly 13% of the global Muslim population. So when the preparations began for a visit to Jakarta by Atlanta pastor Dr. Michael Youssef, it wasn't an everyday happening.
What can profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?
For 3 days, with music and prayer, Youssef brought a message of God's love to Indonesians. 15,000 people came, some facing persecution.
But the most amazing thing to me is the hundreds of people that responded to the gospel message by coming forward. Dangerous as it was for some of them, and yet they were fearless. The love of Christ captured so many of them that hundreds were coming in every one of those 3 nights.
Youssef says one pastor brought 300 people to the gathering, even though he was threatened with death.
And of course there was threats and by some extremists, and the man with joy of the Lord said, it doesn't matter, what can they do to me? And so night after night he would bring folks in to hear the gospel message, some of them for the first time.
Organizers say 1,000 people came to Christ during the meetings, and the hope is that millions more in the Muslim world will hear the good news on television and the internet.
That they will bring glory to your name.
John Wagi, CBN News.
Up next, a radical response to Muslims in the aftermath of the Boston bombings. Hear how Christians are being told to act next.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
For most people, Islam remains a mystery. It's a religion they don't know much about.
That's right. And now a new DVD series teaches people about Islam. And it's being done with the help of former Muslims. Gary Lane has that story.
Most Muslim immigrants come to North America for educational and economic opportunities. Others come to escape oppression. On a rare occasion, some, like the Tsarnaev brothers, harm the nation that has welcomed them. Wajdi Iskander is a former Muslim from Sudan.
Suddenly, when they come here, they change. They change to be fanatic.
Government can only do so much to protect us from Islamic fanaticism. So how should we respond beyond praying for our nation? A new Christian DVD teaching series called Truth Unlocked provides spiritual and educational responses.
I think it's going to help our nations, our countries, to be well equipped to deal with terrorism and to also deal with the people here that we need to take care of, the Muslim people that God brought here for us to give them the gospel right here.
The Truth Unlocked DVD series provides an understanding of Islamic religious beliefs. Tim Clemens is co-producer of Truth Unlocked.
This came about with just our kids interacting with other Muslim kids within their school, and I felt very ill-equipped and ignorant towards another culture that had moved in.
El Hayat Women's talk show host Amani Mustafa appears on the Truth Unlocked DVD. She is a former Muslim who says Westerners should understand Islamic culture before establishing a relationship with a Muslim.
A man and his wife are welcoming a couple into their home, and the man of the house would extend the hand to shake the hand of the wife. Instantly, she's offended because she's veiled and she's not supposed to be shaking a man's hand. Right there, he broke a rule. So it takes a while for us to correct these things.
Terror attacks like the Boston Marathon bombing may cause people to shy away from pursuing a relationship with Muslims. Mustafa says Christians shouldn't fear sharing their faith because Muslims hunger for closeness to God.
When a Christian person come and present to me the God that he loves and worships and live with, that is an eye-opener and a heart-opener to many of us. And we see today that when Muslims are offered the freedom to choose Christ, they do by the millions.
And Christians don't have to read the Quran before witnessing to Muslims.
I think it's a lot more important for them to understand what the gospel say, how to relate the gospel to them, to the Muslims.
Mustafa says Christians should tell the truth.
Ask him about what is that God, who is that God you're worshiping, and tell them the truth. We don't worship the same God, and let me tell you why.
A follow-up DVD called Far From Home, A Different West will be available in the near future. Most evangelism tools are created and presented by Western Christians. This one is done by former Muslims who now follow Jesus.
The Christian, they explain it in a Christian mindset, but now you have kind of a convert, a believer in Christ from the same background, who understand exactly what they're going through because We went through it.
One that addresses Muslim misconceptions and questions about Christianity.
It's my neighbor, it's my coworker, it's my child's schoolmate. They're individuals who need Christ as much as anybody else, as much as I needed Christ.
A revelation replacing acts like this with more of this. Gary Lane, CBN News.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Finally, it is graduation season, and this year nearly 2 million college degrees are being handed out across the country.
But not before graduates sit in on one final lecture. Presidents, priests, comedians, CEOs, and even Hollywood stars are among this year's commencement speakers. We've compiled some of their most memorable advice.
Your life is your story.
Do what makes you happy.
Always keep optimism.
If anyone has a cell phone, please take a moment to make sure that it is turned on. I wouldn't want any of you to miss a text or a tweet while I'm giving my speech.
Find your purpose and go for it.
There's something that you can give to someone.
Stand up for those who can't stand. Speak for those who can't speak.
We want you to, dare I say it, change the world.
Change the world indeed. Well, that's going to do it for the CBN News Channel. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us again right here next time. Have a marvelous Monday, everybody.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957. Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com.
Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.